Shabbat Shalom. I'm Rabbi Lauren Werber, and I'm happy to invite you to join us, Congregation Beth Adam, as we celebrate Shabbat together. Welcome to those of you joining us locally and those of you joining us from afar. We begin with words of author Shelley Fredman describing the purpose of Shabbat. We are to live, she said, only for one day a week, as if the world were perfect. For some of us, that is a tremendous leap, especially given the real-time state of our world. But the idea is to step back, to gain a crucial distance we lack in order to see more deeply into the nature of things. Then, to use the day itself as an inspiration that infuses the other 6 days of the week. Ma yafa hayom, how beautiful is this day, a day to step back, to gain perspective, to appreciate the world around us, and to gain inspiration for the week to come. Ma yafa hayom, Shabbat, Shalom.
Ma yafa hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafa hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafa hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafa hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Let the Sabbath be a time for believing in what could be and seeing with new eyes. In this serious world, let us take ourselves less seriously. In these harsh times, let us listen for a soothing word. While the world around us unfolds in an instant, let us judge each other a little more slowly. Let the Sabbath shine a light into a corner of ourselves where hope is renewed. Let us remember a reason to be joyful, a way to be gentle. Let the Sabbath be a time for opening up. Let us find strength in our dreams and trust in our strength. The lighting of the Shabbat candles marks this moment when we bring in the peace of Shabbat and hopefully can hold us with us for a while. On this Shabbat, we create our moment in time. We pause to reflect upon our yesterdays and tomorrows, to renew our ties with our families and friends, to restore our energies, to refresh our spirits. As the sun descends and shadows lengthen, the direction of the days gives way to the stillness of night. It is time now for us to see not with our eyes, but with our hearts and minds. As the day gives way to evening, it is time for us to welcome the Shabbat. The candles stand before us waiting to be lit. We recall our ancestors as we too seek to dispel the darkness and banish the cold, to bring glowing softness, warmth, and safety into our homes. May the dancing flames of these candles kindle warmth within our hearts, wisdom in our minds, passion in our souls. Baruch Haor Ba'olam, blessed is the light within the world. Baruch Haor Ba'adam, blessed is the light within each person. Baruch Haor Ba'Shabbat, blessed is the light of Shabbat. At other times and other places, we may feel fragile and alone. Yet here we join together to find strength, to build community, as we look with wonder at the universe and seek our place within its vastness. To this place we come to lengthen our perspective. To this place we come to question and explore. In this place we awaken our imaginations. In this place we draw strength as we allow ourselves to dream. Together we share the challenge of an ever-changing world, a world often beyond our control, incomprehensible and frightening. Together we seek to find meaning, ease our fears, understand our purpose. Together we share the burden and the blessing of responsibility. We give thanks that we are able to be together in this way across time and space as we celebrate Shabbat. We are really lucky this evening that we have visitors to Congregation Beth Adam for our conversation that I hope will be really interesting and moving and exciting for each of you. As you may know, Rutka, making sure I pronounce it correctly, Rutka is a musical showing at Cincinnati Playhouse in the Park right now. And Amy Langer and David Schwartz are the producers and are very much responsible for bringing it here and even for choosing Cincinnati. So we thank you for that. I am seeing Rutka, but haven't yet. Many of our members have, and they keep telling me fabulous things and are fairly astounded that we haven't gotten there yet, but I promise we will. I'm tempted to tell you more about this musical, but I want to give them the chance to do that tonight and to share a bit of the how and why and maybe some fun things that we wouldn't know if we didn't have you here. I know, who knows? Let me tell people how we met and why you're here, because that was kind of fun. We got a knock on the door at the congregation, and it was David and Amy coming to give us materials about Rutka. And I think I didn't, I assumed that you were here to see Rabbi Barr. And I invited them in to talk a little bit. And then I had a meeting, but I think you had a great time with Rabbi Barr for quite a while. And then we had the chutzpah to try to get you to join us for different things. And we didn't quite have the coordination to be able to find a time for you to come and speak with everyone. So we found this time to talk with one another. And we're really grateful for that. And it's a lesson to say, go knock on doors and talk to people and get to know people and ask people to join you because they might say yes. So without me taking all the time to talk about Rutka and about you, I'm going to give you a chance. You can tell us a teeny tiny bit. I know it's a terrible question, a little bit about yourself and how you ended up here.
I'm Amy Langer and one of the producers on Rutka, along with
David Schwartz. I'm the other producer on Rutka.
And we live in New York City. And one thing I just want to say about coming here is when you say talk to people, and don't do that in New York as so much. So coming here and having just such a warm, friendly, beautiful place to be has been really wonderful for us. So we're thrilled that we are in Cincinnati doing the show.
I couldn't have said it better. We actually have known each other since we were in a theater program together in 7th grade.
Wow. We did Music Man, the show Music Man together.
Exactly. So theater has always been a part of our lives. And I've worked mainly in film and television since then. Amy was a musical theater performer for many years before becoming a producer. And so now we produce shows together.
That's fabulous. It's kind of cool that it was 7th grade because, as we'll talk about a little later, that's sort of your target moving up from there, but that's kind of your target with Rutka. So really neat that you were doing Music Man just then at that moment, which is such a whole other time to have you back and talk
Yes.
about 7th grade. But we're not going to do that this round.
Yeah.
Can you share a little tiny bit about what Rutka is for people, assuming they know, sort of the elevator speech on what Rutka is and how the project started?
Sure.
Yeah.
You're looking at me, so
Well, you're a good elevator speech person.
fair enough. So Rutka is a new indie rock musical that is based on an actual diary that a 14-year-old girl, Rutka Laskier, left behind in the Jewish ghetto in Benjin, Poland in 1943. It's been described, for those of the folks watching who may be theater fans, as Spring Awakening meets the Diary of Anne Frank. So it is, it's different than Anne's story in that Anne was hidden away in the annex, whereas Rutka and her friends are in the streets of the ghetto and experiencing all that life has to offer positively and negatively during that time. And so, it is a story that is a coming of age story about love and friendship and relationships and resistance.
And friendship across divide, which is really important. Empathy across divide.
Yeah. As she befriends a Gentile Polish girl who ends up rescuing her diary and saving it for 60 years. Despite the fact that, as one of the lines goes in the show, we're all supposed to hate each other. But they don't. They come together across that divide. And this notebook that Rutka wrote and this show wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that empathy. And so there's just a host of interesting messages and areas to explore in the show.
And the reason, if folks are saying indie rock, what is that? It's not the plug your ears kind of music. It's very accessible music by a band called, two members of the band called Pearl and the Beard. And it's beautiful music. We just actually released a song. You can find it everywhere on Spotify, everywhere, called The Match, which opens the second act. And it's a really, really beautiful song about hope for a spark still being there. And hope is a big theme in this. And the reason we have this music is because it's the youth expressing how they feel. And so we figured contemporary music is the way they express and would bring audiences into this, that may not ever come to a story like this.
Yeah, around the same time that we found the diary. So there were two things that sort of inspired this musical choice. One is that Rutka's own voice felt to us when we read it, it sort of leapt off the page at us and felt like it needed to be musicalized, but her voice felt very current, very, rock and roll and very, it didn't feel like a traditional musical theater score. So it was that combined with the fact that right around the time that we first came across the diary, we also read the results of a survey which said that 63% of millennials had never heard of Auschwitz. And there were other staggering statistics that were very similar and very concerning. And we thought, if these stories are going to live on from generation to generation, they need to be something more than just black and white photos in a history book. And how can we bring that to life in a way that can reach across demographics and reach outside the box and reach the next generation as well as all generations? And it really felt when we found this band and their music that this was a sound that could achieve all of those things and use the power of music and the arts to bring in new people to this history and these stories.
I have so many things I want to ask you, and I'm not going to be able to remember them all. That was amazing. Absolutely. What an amazing journey to create. I mean, a Holocaust musical is not what people expect, and I want to remember that.
Yes, and I want to say something about that. That's not, we think of it as, it's teenagers who happen to be living, teenagers trying to live their life in a time that, in a world that happens to be going mad around them. So it's sort of a way into the stories through humanizing these people,
They're not just numbers and statistics. These are kids with actual lives and things that they hoped for and dreamed of and experience that everyone can identify with. The boy you have a crush on, the arguments with your friends, all of those things.
And that was the other piece that really stood out as the two of you were talking. That, I mean, I don't know how many times you said hope, and we're thinking ghetto, ghetto, Holocaust, devastation, death, and hope keeps coming up. And it really draws attention to the fact that more than that, they're the people that they were, right? And remain that. And it's really refreshing to have this sense of regular life in the most irregular of times, and how much that can teach us.
Right.
Not that we're in those times, but as we're feeling kind of the unraveling of what we know, to be able to say, like, those teenagers were just teenagers. It's a pretty powerful message.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you know you were going musical route? Well, first of all, when you read Rutka, were you looking for a creative project, or you fell upon the diary?
For me, all I knew was Anne Frank, and the rise of anti-Semitism, which feels strange now because it continues to rise, but back in like 2016, 2017, it just felt like the rise in anti-Semitism, and I was like, what other diarists are out there? I don't know. And it went on Amazon, and this was found in 2006, and we're like, who is this? And it was another female, and that was interesting. And then we read her, and she was like, said things like, if he doesn't show up, he's finito and adios, and things like that. We're like, never heard this kind of,
Sounds just like my diary from that age.
Right. You expect it to be a little more formal, and it just was so, I thought it was just as interesting what she wasn't saying as what she was, what she was, she had to be talking about the boy. That was to avoid really delving into what was going on around her.
And she did explore what was going on around her too. I mean,
Yes.
there are some horrific things that she describes in there. But interestingly, the very next sentence will be going back to the boy.
Yeah, I
It's
get
like
it
she
to my
can't.
nerves today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot to sit with in that, in terms of how we cope, and sometimes that not being a bad thing at all, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And interestingly, the diary is only 60 pages.
Right.
And it's just a diary. It doesn't have a plot, the way that you would with a show. And so one of the things that we really had to do was a tremendous amount of research. Speaking with survivors from the town, folks who are historians about the town, really doing a lot of book research about Rutka and about other folks who are maybe mentioned in the diary or alluded to or what have you, in order to flesh out the story. So from everything that we've been able to find out from people that we've spoken with and records, she was a part of the teen resistance. But she doesn't talk about that in the book. She does, but in code. So there's a lot of things like that were really an interesting part of this journey.
Yeah, and I got to meet the woman who saved the diary. I got to meet her on Zoom for her 100th birthday.
I was going to ask if we had people still alive.
Yes.
As part of this story.
And Ruth's sister, her half sister, came to opening night. She flew in from Tel Aviv. The gentleman that brought the diary to Yad Vashem came in from Poland. We had people. It was really special. The opening of this and people coming together for the story.
And it's their story too.
Right.
Like they can see, I'm sure they see themselves. Did you need to bring sort of, it's not exactly fictionalizing, but bring other people's characters into Rutka because you didn't have enough in those 60 pages?
No, I mean, she mentions, everybody she mentioned, no, yeah. She mentions most everybody that's on stage.
Wow.
I mean, it is.
And you have enough about her life from those pretty much from those, and the research you did.
I mean, yeah, you use that as a jumping off point.
Right.
And you flesh it out in order to make it into a hopefully satisfying theatrical piece. So it's not a documentary. It's not tracking the diary word for word or the characters who are in there specifically. Some characters are amalgams, but it's hopefully at least very faithful to the spirit of Rutka and what she wrote.
Yeah, so if you see the show and then read the diary, you'll say, oh, that was in there, that was in there. And some words that become jumping off points for songs.
Right. Which brings us back to whether you were looking for a musical, or you said her voice just sounded like a musical.
Sorry, we went off on the whole thing.
Yeah.
Her voice sounded like that, and then we thought, when things are so big, what we were saying is what she didn't say versus what she did say. Sometimes emotions are so big, that's in a musical. That's when they're sung, and right. So we went down a rabbit hole on Spotify for 3 days.
That's not I thought it would be much worse than that.
Oh, it was 3 full days. And it was, it was like, if you like this, then try this. If you like this, then try, and just couldn't find it. And then on the 3rd day, I came across a song by Pearl of the Beard called Again Animal. And I was like, that's it. And I was like, go get them.
And so I looked them up online and found out, of course, that they had broken up, but was able to find contact information for them. And so reached out to the 3 of them and said, look, you don't know us. You've never done theater before, but you have to do this. And you have to meet with us and talk about it. And they were willing to do that as long as it was in a very public place, just in case we were crazed fans. And so we met with them at a Starbucks in Brooklyn. It was the first time the 3 of them had been together in a room in 2 years since they had broken up. They had no idea what the project was. So we take out this diary and put it on the table. And they looked around to see if there were hidden cameras, to see if they were, if we were playing a joke on them. But no, we were serious. And we spent, I think, 2 hours sitting and talking with them, and they asked such smart and interesting questions and were really intrigued by the opportunity to work on this and to work on a piece with such meaning and potential depth to it. And 2 of them ended up joining us, and it has just been an absolute joy.
And they brought their friendship back together.
That's
so that's,
so you knock on the door and ask.
That's right. That's right. We did.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it was from finding them.
They always call themselves our Spotify pick.
Yeah.
They are. And we've been with them 7 years now.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wow. So how are you feeling about it now that it's real? Right?
Well, now that it's real, now we're like, okay, we have to go back. We have to work on these things. We have to, go. We start thinking about the next steps. It's great. It's amazing to see it up on its feet, and then what works, what doesn't, what you want to continue to work on, and then get it to the next step.
Yeah, but the important thing, I think, to us is that although we look at it and see the things that we want to continue to mold and shape and elevate, it's impacting people. Even in this form and even without the additional bells and whistles that I'm talking about and changes, it is still, from what we are seeing and hearing when we see each performance, it's moving people. People have come to us in tears and just said, thank you so much for doing this. And that's not, why we're doing it, but it shows us that it is having an impact. And that's why we're doing it.
Right.
Is to be able to affect change and to be able to make somewhat of a difference and to bring these stories to new audiences. And so I think the bones of the show are there and are doing that. And that's really exciting and heartening for us.
And I was just going to say, the Playhouse has been amazing. Everybody there has really jumped on board and really embraced this project. And the Holocaust and Humanity Center has brought a whole lobby display, and they just did an upstander workshop with teenagers this past weekend, and the teenagers saw the show, and they were really impacted.
And that's been a super exciting thing too, is that the teen audiences have been growing in numbers as the performances have been going on. And there are teens and 20-something audience members who've been coming back multiple times to see it. Someone just posted fan art. They did paintings of all of the characters in the show. Someone started a Wikipedia page. So it feels like it's snowballing, and it's fulfilling that intent of reaching that generation.
And that's hard to do with a story that's, and it sounds like you've managed to bring real life, which is also fun and funny and frivolous sometimes, but you've brought it to a really serious story. So it's hard to reach that audience in that way. It's remarkable that you found a way to do it. You kind of told us some of the good about Cincinnati. I was going to ask you why Cincinnati, but you kind of told us in terms of how great it's been in Cincinnati. So I'll let you off the hook about more detail, but tell you we are thrilled that Cincinnati was chosen for this initial run. And you alluded to thinking about what's next. So what's next?
Well, the goal has been to make this the best it can be here, and then take that and do the work that we need to do to get it to that next phase so that it can have this long, fabulous future.
Well, I sure hope it does. We look forward to seeing it. That sounds like the end, but it's not the end, because I have one more question. Because I just want to know, you just talked about the fan art. We talked right before this about this experience with a survivor who came up to you after. I was hoping you could share that. And then if there's anything else that you want to share that was either unexpected or meaningful to you in this process. And then I really will let that be the end.
No, I talked to a survivor who was, very grateful and thankful that we're doing this, and said these stories, this needs to be told. People need to know this. And it's very grateful that there's a way to carry on these stories. So it was really, I was overwhelmed. It was really beautiful.
Sort of everything you wanted in one person's handshake, right?
Yep.
Amazing.
And that's been, to your question about what's been surprising or what have you. I don't know that I would say necessarily surprising, but we've just been so thrilled about the fact that somehow the wonderful creative team that has written this show and directed this show and everything else and designed it has been able to thread that needle of creating a piece that is not only drawing in the next generation, but is also clearly impactful to survivors and that generation and to folks in between. That's a challenging thing to do. I don't know how in the world we did it, but it gives me hope for the future of this show, that it can reach across demographics in the way that we had hoped, and really impact people and change hearts and minds, across all groups.
I think I may know better than you know how you did it. I don't know the details, but I think you're being modest, and I think you probably worked very, very carefully to thread exactly that needle. It sounds like you had the right, you were very careful about the team you had to make it happen. So I'm glad it's paying off. It's a daunting task that you took on, and I'm glad it's being appreciated. I appreciate you sharing some of that story with us, and I think if we circle back to the very beginning, thank you for bringing hope to bringing hope in the world in all kinds of ways is so needed and so valuable, and to do it in this way is just a tremendous service to all of us. So thank you, and I look forward to seeing Rutka. I hope we'll cross paths again. I'm glad you came to Beth Adam's doors, and I hope you always feel at home here as well.
Thank you for opening your door.
Yes, exactly.
Good things happen. So we hope to see you back again. Thank you so much. Shabbat shalom.
Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.
We now move back to our liturgy and to some moments for introspection. Everything, everywhere comes from one source. Our lives, all life, springs from that cause. Each thing, everything, is made of the same matter. Our lives, all life, is inseparable and of that ground. We are, each of us, uncommon expressions of that source, an intelligence unfolding to live one certain life. Our earth spins through space, incredibly alive. Our nature, and for all that lives, is to flourish and then to die. And everything, everywhere, must eventually cease. Our life, all life, must return to its field. All of us, each of us, resigns ever so humbly to become again, one again, with the earth. We are, everyone, a source and a benediction of life. As we remember those who have become again, one again, with the earth, those who are no longer among the living, we add some extra words tonight that were born out of the horrors of the Holocaust. This is a famous poem you may recognize, written by Hannah Senesh, a young Jewish resistance fighter who was captured, tortured, and killed in 1944 when she was caught paratrooping into Yugoslavia. It's called Yesh Kokavim, There Are Stars. Yesh Kokavim she'oram magia arza, rak asher hem atzmam avdu ve'enam. There are stars whose light reaches the earth only after they themselves have disintegrated and are no more. And there are people whose memory lights the world long after they have passed from it. These lights, which shine in the darkest night, are those which illumine the path for us. In memory of those we've loved and lost, and for those who have only us to remember, we recite our memorial prayer. Ein bidei hamavet hakoach la'korma shetamun balev. Death cannot take that which is locked in our hearts. With our tears, in our sorrow, we remember. With our courage and our strength, we do not forget. Acts of kindness, deeds of courage will remain. Beauty created, wisdom shared is not lost. With our tears, in our sorrow, we remember. Im dema'ot be'einenu be'et evlenu, nishmor al zecher achuvenu. With our tears, in our sorrow, we remember. Zecher tzadik livracha. May the memory of good people bless our days. As our service nears its conclusion, we celebrate joy. We move from sorrow and grief to the joy of Shabbat, and we celebrate with wine. We celebrate the bounty of nature as we lift our cup. For we are part of nature, which gave us birth and continues to sustain us. Even as we depend upon nature, so do we influence its course. Through the search for understanding, we have gained the knowledge to shape our world. Guided by the best of human wisdom and the compassion of our spirit, we accept the responsibility which rests upon us. May the taste of this wine upon our lips stir within us a reverence for nature and a respect for human endeavor. Bruchim hachaim ba'olam. Blessed is the life within the world. Bruchim hachaim ba'adam. Blessed is the life within us. Before our final benediction, we will have a closing song. The song is Gesher Tsar Ma'od. Means a very narrow bridge. These are the words of Rabbi Nachman saying, all life is a very narrow bridge. The ikar, the important thing, is not to be afraid. And really, it doesn't mean we cannot be afraid, but not to be ruled by that fear, as the world spirals sometimes around us and life feels like a narrow bridge. May we not be ruled by fear. May we feel the peacefulness and the joy and the hope and the love that is Shabbat.
Kol ha'olam kulo Gesher Tsar Ma'od Gesher Tsar Ma'od Gesher Tsar Ma'od Kol ha'olam kulo Gesher Tsar Ma'od Gesher Tsar Ma'od V'haika v'haika lo lafachet kach 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 v'haika v'haika lo lafachet kach.
May we know blessings those who are near. May we know blessings those who are far. May the Sabbath bring its goodness to everyone soon, wherever they are. May we know blessings through the day. May we know blessings through the night. May health be for our children. All things soon be right. May we know blessings in our comings. May we know blessings when we depart. May we live each day with peace and wisdom in each heart. Ken yehi ritzonenu. May it be our will. Thank you for joining us, and Shabbat Shalom.